This is really an education problem for the citizens of this country. For years and years, we have trusted the government to tell us the truth. And I was years into law enforcement before I realized that my government wasn't telling me the truth.
Yeah, first of all, I don't think it's a war on drugs. I don't think we're really fighting a war on drugs. If we were, we'd be fighting it a little differently, I think.
Me personally, I don't even understand how there can be a distinction between drinking a glass of wine and smoking a marijuana joint. They're identical activities with just a different substance.
The war on drugs gives gangs a reason to exist. The illicit drug industry is now internationally, according to the United Nations, about $500 billion a year. That's a huge enterprise, and we have turned it completely over to criminals. They decide what's produced, when it's produced, where it's produced, how it's transported, who gets it, how much it costs, how much they get, how pure it is. All of those decisions are totally made by criminals, and all of it is tax-free.
As so many things, the war on drugs originated with Richard Nixon. It's the longest declared war that we've actually had ever in the United States society. It began in the mid-70s and it continues today.
I don't think Nixon wanted to tell the people in the United States that we were going to try prohibition again. Prohibition was such a terrible failure with so many terrible unintended consequences that it would have been really politically unwise to focus on that we were going to try to now prohibit literally hundreds of substances where we had been totally unsuccessful in prohibiting just one.
There's so many different ways that drugs are coming into this country that we'll never catch it all.
Every year, the number of people in jail has gone up. Every year, the amount of drugs that we have confiscated has gone up. But virtually every year, the price of cocaine and the price of marijuana on the street have come down. Now that tells you something that's really quite interesting. It tells you that we've been fighting the longest declared war in the history of our country, and it's not working.
The large part of the violence that you see on a routine basis, the violence that most people can't understand the explanation for, is actually the war on drugs itself.
You have to measure the success not just by arrest, but by what you can do with people and do for them once you make that arrest. And that is the key to the war on drugs that I think has been overlooked.
We can never arrest our way out of this situation. It's impossible. We will never be able to address our drug problem until we get over our drug war.
I know that it's a losing battle, but I think that we still need to fight it and try to keep the drugs away from as many kids as we can.
You've got drug dealers that go down to schools and give out samples and recruit students at very young ages to sell their products in the schools. You don't have the guy from the Little Champ down there giving out samples of cigarettes and beer. You don't have him recruiting the students to sell them at lunchtime in the schools. And that's one of the ways that we are actually putting our kids in more jeopardy while we think we are doing something for them.
I think you can hardly find anybody who will answer affirmatively that the war on drugs is working. We've been doing it for 40 years, it hasn't worked, but let's do more of it. Nobody thinks it's working, but no politician is going to have the courage to stand up and say that the emperor has no clothes. So we're locked into this situation of spending more and more money on not merely a failed enterprise. This is not merely a failed enterprise. This is an enterprise that has radically transformed this country in terms of the abusive power of law enforcement and its impact on American freedoms.
We are taking away people's lives at 20-year clips. 10 years here, 20 years there. It is insane what our country has done. We are warehousing people because of their inebriant of choice.
It is time to take a rational approach. It is time to quit listening to political rhetoric that we're going to have safer streets and this and that and the other, and do more of what is proven to be a failure.
Yeah, first of all, I don't think it's a war on drugs. I don't think we're really fighting a war on drugs. If we were, we'd be fighting a little differently, I think.
We'll spend $70 billion this year in this country as a result of the war on drugs. We need to divert that to intervention.